Okay, so this is picking up from where the last program was, and what I've done is just comment out the code that we'd already put in. And comments are handled in C# the same way as our own JS, /star to start a multi-line comment, / to finish it. If I move that, and let's put it there, I can also comment single lines by just putting a double slash, and you see the text turns green. So I'm just going to put that back how it was. So all of that section is now commented out. You should see the error messages disappear as we move on. So we looked at how to get text out of a text box and also how to convert it to an integer, how to do things with that integer and then spit it back out. The next thing I want to look at is kind of if statements and selection and doing different things depending on what different values are. So I'm going to do the same thing again. So first of all I'm going to make a string. I'm going to call it compare this time. And I'm going to give it the value of textbox 1 dot text. Don't forget your semicolons. So that will then take whatever text is in textbox 1, store it in the string which is called compare, and I'm then going to want to do different things depending on what that string is. So I'm going to write a simple if-else statement. So if, and then we'll put in our compare string. And then a comparator is done with a double equal sign in order to distinguish it from an assignment. So if compare equals hello. So this is a simple way of doing a string comparison. It's not actually a very good way of doing a string comparison. There are all sorts of problems with it, but for this level of programming it will be just fine. So if compare equals hello, then textbox 2 text equals, and this is assigning a value to that property text, so just a single equal sign. Let's do goodbye. And when I type a string in directly I have to give it quote marks so that it knows it's a string. So if whatever we put in textbox 1 ends up evaluating as equal to hello, then so you could then put goodbye into textbox 2. And then I'm going to do a little else statement, which will obviously catch anything that isn't hello. And let's do textbox 2 dot text. Let's give that the value of I didn't get that. Okay. All of our error messages seem to have disappeared, so let's run that and see what it does. So F5 to run, up pops our little program, and I'm going to type hello in there, submit, and it says goodbye. And now let's try typing something else. Let's try hi. Oh, it didn't get that. Okay, let's try hello again, just to make sure it works. And this time let's try hello with a capital. As you can see, there are some problems to taking text from a text box like that and doing direct comparison. The biggest one of which is capitalization, also any typos. So if I put hello with one L, it's not going to understand what I mean. It needs to be precisely typed as we had in the text. So not a brilliant way of putting data in for comparisons if you're just taking it as a string for text boxes. Let's muck around with this a bit more and start doing it with numbers. So at the moment I've got a string compare textbox1.text. I can take my convert to int32, stick that down here, put it in brackets. So I'm now converting that to an int. It's going to complain because I've said it's a string. Let's make it an int. By the way, you'll see int16, int32 and int64. Those are different lengths of integers, so different amounts of memory. 32 is kind of the standard one, but you can use the others if you need if you need to store bigger numbers, or if you are trying to save space, you can store it as an int16 if you know it's going to be a relatively small number. Right, lots of other stuff is now broken. Compare is now no good because it's comparing to a string. So let's do comparison to an integer instead. So if compare is less than 10, textbox text equals small, else textbox2 dot text equals big. So I can now compare my value, see if it's less than 10 or else would be greater than 10. So F5 to run that. Let's have a look. So I'm going to put in 11 is big, 9 is small. See what 10 does. Comes out as big because the comparator I used was less than 10. If I use less than or equal to 10, oh, it's going to get me because I'm still running. That's quite a common problem. Either close it there, or if you can't, sometimes you can't find this even, especially if it's throwing an error in the code and it's trying to warn you about it, it won't let you open that up. There's a stop button there that will stop your program running. So let's do less than or equal to and run it again. So now if I type 10, it thinks it's small because I've told it any number up to and including 10 is small. So it's fairly standard comparisons there. I can also do logical operators. So in this case, and means and then let's do compare greater than 5. So it will now look for a number that is greater than 5, less than or equal to 10. So, and it will say that's small. So let's just test some numbers on that. So let's try 10 first of all. Evaluates that as small. Let's try 4. It's now evaluating that as big because although it passes the test for being less than or equal to 10, it fails the test for being greater than 5. So it goes to the else statement instead, and that else statement says it's big. So that's how to do some simple comparisons with information that you've taken out of a text box, in this case generate a number, and we'll come on to look at using that to do some other things as well. In the meantime, I want to move on to looking at checkboxes and radio buttons and how they work. So that will be what we look at next.